desde Las Vegas, Nevada. Iniciamos con el programa Hablando de bienes y raíces con Castillo y sus invitados. Comenzamos.
Muy buenos días Las Vegas, ¿cómo están? Yo soy Castillo, estamos comenzando su programa de Hablando de Bienes Raíces con Castillo y sus invitados. Estamos aquí en el estudio de Lawyer's Title una vez más, hoy día miércoles, abril 9, increíblemente cómo se está pasando el tiempo. Estamos aquí en el estudio, tenemos a dos personas que yo aprecio mucho, realmente les doy muchas gracias por haber tomado el tiempo de venir aquí a hablar con nosotros y vamos a comenzar a darle la bienvenida a nuestros personas que están en el estudio con nosotros. Vamos a comenzar con Vicky. Vicky, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fantastic.
Perfect. And also we have Natalie. How are you?
Buenos días, mi gente. I'm doing wonderful.
Perfect. Well, the reason why we're sitting here today is because we're all board members of NAHREP Greater Las Vegas. And about a week and a half ago, we were down in Washington, D.C. And it was a really cool trip. And, you know, since we came back, there's been a lot of things that have come out of Washington, which we want to talk about a little bit. But also we're going to be talking about the, 2024 Hispanic Homeownership Report, which is a great thing that NAHREP does every year, which a lot of, I didn't know this, but a lot of sitting officials really look into it and they get that information and they make policies that's going to help protect our Hispanic homeownership for the up and coming years. So Vicky, do you want to go ahead and talk to us about what the trip was all about, please?
So our trip was a great trip. It was all about, the report coming out. Mm-hmm. The stats that came out, they weren't the same from last year.
Right.
There were a lot of changes. One of the changes is actually we dropped down in percentage of Latino home ownership.
Correct.
So that was like surprising, shocking news to us when the report came out. Mm-hmm. But we have younger Latinos.
Yes.
Are becoming home buyers, and Latinas are still leading.
That was a crazy stat that the single mother Latinas are the ones that are actually jumping and buying homes, which was very, very, it wasn't news, but it was like extremely refreshing because that just means you guys are not listening to the noise out there. Right. Mm-hmm. We've been hearing a lot of things and, we talked about it as we were traveling back from Washington, D.C., from all these, social media influencers that they started posting about, oh, my God, FHA is not doing loans for the, non-residents and all of this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, but really what percentage of the market really that affects? And it was a very small percentage. So they were making a big deal out of not a lot of information. Yes, there are some people that will not be able to get an FHA loan, but they could get a conventional loan. They could get many other things. But the women, the single mothers, they're like, we don't care. We're going to figure out a way. And that is something that it speaks volumes of our culture, isn't it? As a mom, you have to have a place, and you guys are both moms.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. You are like the mama bears. You guys protect your cubs through thick and thin, and giving them a home ownership is one of the greatest things that you could do for the moment, right, Vicky?
Absolutely. You know what? We sit in the mindset as mothers, whether you're a married mom or you're a single mom, it is our job to teach.
Yes.
It's always si se puede. Mm-hmm. You're bigger than who you think you are. Mm-hmm. You provide more value than you know. And it starts with the education at home. Mm-hmm. We're in a business where we are filled with knowledge. Yeah. And we seek and we search for those answers. And we're able to provide, that financial literacy teaching to our children.
Right.
I'm always very, very impressed with Natalie because her knowledge when it comes to mortgage, wow. It's just, and I sit and think like, I can learn so much from her to teach to my kids.
Well, it's important, Natalie, right? Being in the industry for so long, learning about what the mortgage industry really does for our Hispanic community. Because I know that in the previous, job that you were at, you mostly deal with the Hispanic community. You saw those numbers. You saw those single mothers. You saw those, multiple generation homeownership, right? Can we talk about why is that important for this, Hispanic homeownership report to be very proud about, our Hispanic population saying, you know what, we don't hear the noise, we just need to buy, because we know that if we buy a piece of the American dream, other things are going to open up, right?
I would say that in my previous role, I definitely saw that if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And all these single mothers, all these young first-time home buyers, they have made it their dream to make sure they accomplish this. And they need people like myself that can help them get to that place where they need the guidance. They need someone they can trust.
Right.
And you can't find that everywhere in the industry. So all this loud noise that they're hearing, that no, you're not going to be able to buy, this is going to affect you. No, you just have to find the right resources. You have to find the right people that will actually help you and guide you.
Well, Vicky said a thing that I think is extremely important: it's education, right? Because look, let's be honest. Anybody could put a camera in front of yourself and pretend to be educated, but at the end of the day, you know what? You're just drawing eyes to your, whatever, right? You're saying comments that probably are hurting more than you think they are, because you want those likes, you want those shares, you want that activity in your social media. But at the end of the day, are you really helping and educating our consumer? And I think, and I'm going to put it up in the screen right now, this Hispanic homeownership report that we're looking at right now, right? Just the cover speaks a lot of what our Hispanic families are going through just to try to purchase in the moment, right, Vicky? I mean, you see that all the time right now talking to your people, right?
All the time. And it's, what I feel when we have people in our industry that are not educating themselves and they are telling people, no, you can't do that. It doesn't help our community.
Right.
It doesn't help us at all. You need people that are going and getting those answers and telling them, you know what, we can do it, but this is the route we have to go in order to make it happen.
Correct.
There's sacrifices in everything.
Yes.
There's sacrifices in everything. And it's just finding people that are going to tell you straight up, like, here's the numbers.
Yeah.
This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. And I'm really much on that transparency with the clients, It's not like, no, we can't do it. It's we can't do it this way right now.
Yes.
But there's another way we can do this, and get ready, because once we start moving forward, we're moving forward, and we're not stopping until we get you in that house.
Yeah. And that's, again, going back to the report, right? This is page 6 and 7 of the report. I'm going to put it up on the screen. And it's talking about how, our Hispanic housing market growth by race and ethnicity, right? Yeah. Hispanic share of households overall is 15.2%. All right. Share of net household formation growth is 43.3%. Right. Share of net homeownership growth is 35%, compared to the non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, other or two more races in non-Hispanics. Our growth year over year is just amazing. And, I believe with what's happening right now, I mean, tomorrow we have an event that's going to be talking about immigration and homeownership. I think, immigration is a big factor of why people decided not to purchase in the last quarter of last year. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys agree with that? And that affected our report, right? Because we did have a homeownership down a little bit, but it was also because everybody like, man, immigration is a big issue. We should buy or we should not buy, right?
Yeah, the fact that, there's a lot of things just affecting the way that people are buying homes right now, it's very discouraging to people. So I can see why it's brought our numbers down as well, and why it's scaring people.
Right.
But it's just a matter of these people learning to find the right people that's going to help them.
Correct.
And not letting these numbers or the noise, like you said, affect what's going on in the market. They just have to find the right people, find the resources to make it.
Right.
Well, it's always the adjustment too. Like, I think people need to understand. And like I say, I'm a very stay in my lane kind of realtor, but I like to get the information.
Correct.
Again, to the education, people need to know, realtors need to know the difference between an I-10 buyer and an FHA buyer. Because there's a big difference.
There is.
And there's too much confusion when it comes to that.
Well, and again, we could agree on, the reason why there's confusion, because, the social media people that are out there, the ones that I call the, the real estate characters, because they play a character in front of social media, but at the behind the scenes, they're totally different. We all know a couple of them like that, right? They all want to pretend something in front of the camera and saying, hey, this is what's happening. But the reality is, you know what? There's always a way. You know, I mean, I've had a couple of lenders here, and I know, Natalie, you could go ahead and probably, you know, add into this, is FHA is not the only program out there, and it's a very minimal part of the whole overall program, because direct lenders, you know, corporations that you used to represent, they directly give loans to consumers. They don't have to go through an FHA, right?
They're portfolio loans. There's banks out there that are willing to give you guys funds without you having to be in a government loan. It's just you finding out what those options are. There's plenty of options out there for the people who are first-time buyers, I-10 buyers, where you do not have to be an FHA. That's not your only option. You're actually better off going with the conventional loan.
Correct.
Because you have less down payment to give. So FHA, their LPAs and all their fees for mortgage insurance, they haven't been very good for our first-time buyers, for our Hispanic buyers. So it's about finding those new options that they're not aware of.
And I think that's really important, Natalie, because we got so used to, you know, FHA 3.5%. You need a FICO score of 580s. Like, no, you know what? Bullshit. I'm sorry, but bullshit. We should be able to be hitting the 620 FICO score, the 680 FICO score. Why should we limit and stay ourselves at a lower FICO score where, you know, if you work on your credit, you could get better loans, right, Vicky? And that's something that I know that NAHREP is very big about, you know, education on the, you know, credit side, right?
Right. And it's about educating our industry. The more education we're giving out, we're doing workshops. We have events with top speakers that are educating our industry in order to help the consumer.
Correct.
That's what we're big on. And when we tell you, hey, we have a workshop, we have an event, there's a reason why we're asking you to come.
Yes.
It's to help you. It's going to help you in your business.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
It's going to help you in your business, and it's going to help you empower our Hispanic community.
Yes. And, you know, again, right, looking at this report, you know, now I'm in page number 10, and, you know, this is just amazing. 65.1 million Hispanics in the USA. I mean, that's a bunch of us. That's a bunch of us, right? 19.4% Hispanic population rate has revolved, right? Which means that our kids are having kids.
Yes.
Right?
We're producing already.
We're producing. You know, Hispanics made up 97.5% of the U.S. population growth between 2022 and 2023.
Yeah,
Imagine
that was
this.
during COVID, right?
That was during COVID. And think about this, right? That means that if we don't educate ourselves as parents, as leaders of our households on what it takes to buy a home, what it takes to have good credit, don't get involved with that, you know, bait and switch of, you know, oh, here's a credit card, max it out, you know, and literally learn how to use credit. We're going to be able to teach our children. They're going to be in a better position, better paying jobs, more educated at a younger age to start purchasing. And I think that is what people are waiting for, right? Our new generation to take. I mean, Natalie, you have 2 young teenagers, right? I know that you have multiple properties. I know that you are in a process of, you know, at one point you're going to sit down with them and say, hey, this is reality of your life. This is how credit works. Make sure you take care of it because it's important, isn't it?
Yeah. I've been talking to my children about credit since I've learned about it.
Nice.
I think it's important to plant the seed at a very young age.
Good.
Yes. That was something that was not done with me.
No.
So therefore, I've pushed myself to empower, to learn more knowledge. Like Vicky said, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure that my children are successful and they are going to be homeowners and they're going to start at a young age.
Correct. And Vicky, I know you do the same thing with your daughters.
I do the same thing with all of them. I mean, my oldest is 26.
Yes.
She purchased her first home in Oklahoma at 21 years old.
Wow. That's good.
Okay. Her first home.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's purchasing more. They get excited.
Yeah.
When they buy their first one, they're like, I need another one.
Yeah.
That's her rental property.
Nice. So
She's here in Nevada. It is now her investment property. She has renters in there.
Oh, wow. So she's a landlord at 26 years old.
Yes.
I mean, think about that. You know, I mean, when I was 26, I had no idea, you know, I mean, I bought my first house when I was 26, but I didn't think about, you know, becoming a landlord. But having the education, and this is why it's so important to have people that are involved with NAHREP. And I know that I mean people all the time, every day. They're like, well, NAHREP, what is that all about? Well, you know, we're the largest Hispanic real estate, you know,
58,000
members, right? We're the biggest Hispanic professional real estate organization out there. Well, we get educated, but like Vicky said, I mean, you know, in DC, we had, you know, the top, like the president of, you know, Chase and Wells Fargo talking to us in very small, you know, sessions, if you want to call it. I mean, maybe 10, 15 people per session. When do you ever kind of have the time to meet these people in that scenario, right, Vicky? I mean, it's important for you to understand, because when we talk to people at that level, we're bringing our concerns from our local markets, right?
Right. And the beautiful part about NAHREP with that, they have the answers we're looking for.
Correct.
When we go and we talk to them. So that's why I'm saying when we go to these conventions, like, we go to learn. Mm-hmm. We go to bring back things to our community. Mm-hmm. And we learned a lot from Wells Fargo. We had Arrive Homes there, you know, and they just educated us so much. NAHREP does great at that. So anytime anyone has an opportunity to go to a conference, if you have a board member reach out to you and say, hey, we have a conference coming up, take advantage and go, because you're not going to regret it.
No, definitely not. I mean, you know, this is my second year going to Washington, D.C. Last year I was a newbie. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I got in, but luckily Vicky introduced me to a lot of very, very good people. This year was different. This year I knew what I was coming for, you know, for, and everything. My whole perspective was totally different. But the knowledge that we came out of there, right? We knew that, you know, things are going to get a little bit tough before it gets easier. But home ownership, we know that that's the only way to really make generational wealth.
Yes. And home ownership, think about it. You start with home ownership, then you own your own business.
Correct.
Because real estate can bring that. You take the equity out, you're either going to buy something else, or it's going to produce something bigger. It's consistency that matters. Like I said, you know, with your kids, you teach them that. And I can say from what I've learned and I've taught them, I get to sit back and watch my older kids now. You know, I also have a 25-year-old who lives in Arizona. She lives in a $1.2 million home and owns 3 businesses.
There we go. See, I mean,
it's pulling the business from that and seeing, she has a 2-year-old son. What is she leaving her son?
Correct.
Her legacy is already there.
Correct.
You're going to own a restaurant, kid, you know, and seeing my 20-year-old.
Right.
I mean, this kid already has, I think, more credit than I do.
Yeah.
And, you know, but that's what amazes me is we teach them to be better than we are.
Oh, and I'll tell you something. I follow a lot of people on social media. Again, you know, I'm very specific on who I follow because I want to make sure that I get the right information. And I follow this one guy that he was talking about how, you know, everybody that doesn't understand credit, and I know that Natalie's going to help us with this.
Yes.
If you don't understand credit, you run away from it.
Yeah.
The people that have the most money in the world, they know credit and they play with credit. So they use what they call other people's money, right? And it's very important to understand that factor that, you know, credit should not scare you. Credit should empower you, because that's how people with money make more money, right, Natalie?
It's a tool, yes. So being able to utilize your credit to get home ownership is one way, but people also have other ways and strategies that they've been using for a long time. And it's just a matter of being able to get that knowledge, going to these events, going to the regional, national events that, you know, NAHREP provides for us, because this is where you learn those other opportunities. This is where you become more empowered. This is where you get all that extra knowledge that the people need.
Yes. And it's important for our professionals to attend, because this is what, you know, it's intent for, right? If you're a real estate professional, you don't have to be a Hispanic real estate professional, because we all luckily speak English. All our events are in English. We don't speak Spanish. We speak very Spanish. I mean, it's a Hispanic organization because, you know, we have to get together and represent for our community, but this is open to anybody really out there. And it's important for you to come in, especially like, I said, I'm looking at the report again and I'm going to put it up here and then we're going to discuss about it, right? It says the top 5 markets for starter homes is Detroit, Michigan, 44%. Why? Because we knew that Detroit, Michigan was like really, not active for a while. Well, now the Hispanic people are like, cheap homes. Hey, we're moving there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just mind blowing. Everybody's running away from Detroit. We're like, no. We're going to go in there, right? The next one is Philadelphia.
Philly.
I mean, think of that, right? Toledo, Ohio. When have you heard that Hispanics are moving to Toledo, Ohio?
Yeah,
not normal.
And I mean, we're talking about, percentages. Detroit, Michigan, 44%, starter home sales for the Hispanic community. Philadelphia, 36%. Toledo, Ohio, 36%. Dayton, Ohio, 33%. St. Louis, Missouri, 32%. I mean, when have you guys heard that our Hispanic community are going to be moving to this community, to these areas in our country, because that's where
they can make their dreams come true.
Right.
Of owning a home.
Yeah.
And that's like the Latinos that are moving are helping the economy as well. When they're moving, it's becoming more steady.
Yes.
And people don't realize that.
Nope. Yeah.
Purchasing a home in those states, okay, it's cold.
It is. Well, that's why
they were smart. They're like, okay, it's okay. Las cobijas, we're fine.
Yes. And I think that's the resiliences that everybody talks about in the Hispanic community, right? We're willing to understand where we're going, but as long as we're going to be able to have a roof over our head and we're going to be able to afford it, we'll adapt to the scenario. Because I'm pretty sure that, in Toledo, Ohio, there's going to be a La Bonita there pretty soon, because the Hispanic community is so big, then they're bringing the business, like you say, right? Yes. And I know that, the renovation businesses are going to come up and, the landscaping businesses are going to come up.
Good food.
And the food businesses, I mean, it is like, the community moves and everything else just follows. And it's incredible because NAHREP understands this. I mean, they take a whole year to put out this report. You know what I mean? These are
a lot of research.
A lot of research, right?
A lot of data that we pull to make sure that it's accurate and that we show that our Hispanics are growing.
Right. And again, I think the biggest thing is that not only we're growing, but we are a huge factor economically.
Yes.
I mean, the billions of dollars that we could move in the economy is huge.
The billions of dollars Latinos put into sports alone in this country.
Well, of course.
We are the top purchasers of a fan-based apparel, attending sporting events. Like Latinos are number one at that.
Yeah.
Listen, you're not kidding. Yesterday, I was flipping through the channels and I happened to be watching the Santos Laguna contra Toluca, soccer game in ESPN.
What?
And it was in English. I'm like,
that's what I'm
holy
saying.
moly, right? We're moving, we're changing things in a bigger thing, and our members need to understand that. This is why you should become a member of NAHREP, because we have the finger in the pulse of what the Hispanic market is doing, moving the economy.
Right, but it's not just soccer. It's American football. Yes. It's basketball.
Baseball.
It's baseball. It's everything.
Yes.
I mean, and we need to take advantage of that because we're in Las Vegas. We are the entertainment capital of the world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I said, the more you educate the community to buy homes, the more successful we're going to be, and our economy is just going to thrive.
Yeah. And then again, that's why we want to educate our members, right? So now let's talk about, the other thing that we did in Washington, D.C. was we were able to sit down with our sitting officials, which is our congressmen, our senators of our state, and bring them real life scenarios so they could understand that, what's happening, what they do or they do not do in Washington, D.C., it affects our market. And I know that we had, different, sittings. I mean, I sat down with, Catherine Cortez Masto. I sat down with Susie Lee. We sat down with,
I had Dina Titus.
You had Dina Titus. So, the conversation that we had with them as a organization, right? It was all about housing. You want to share the conversation you guys shared with Dina Titus, and, what was her response for what, you guys were talking about, Natalie?
So the things that I spoke about is, we had not found out about the FHA program, not accepting people with permits and stuff. But my conversation with her was helping people with lowering mortgage insurance.
Yes.
So that since interest rates were higher, we can help them in that aspect. That was one of our conversations. The second was for them to release more federal land so that people can have more affordable housing.
Correct.
And move into these areas. And she agreed. She thinks that those are things we need to move forward with. She does believe that mortgage insurance needs to go down so that people can qualify with these higher rates.
And Natalie, just so you could explain it to us more detail and our consumers could understand why mortgage insurance is important to be lowered. Because everybody thinks like, it's just part of the loan. But no, it really affects, at the end of the day, your monthly payment.
You're qualifying.
Right.
Yeah, you're qualifying numbers.
Okay.
Mortgage insurance is supposed to be in the event where you guys start missing your payments. That's how the bank is going to come after you.
Right.
So we want to make sure that that's low because we are not trying to default. Latinos are probably one of the least amount of people that default on their home loans. Like for us, it's pay our bills. Always pay our bills on time.
Yes.
So we are not one to default. So I think our mortgage insurance should be a lot lower because we are so responsible when it comes to those payments.
Correct. And again, right, not only that, but, the releasing of, land owned by the federal government to build more houses here in the Valley is extremely important. I mean, last time I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that the federal government, the BLM, they own almost 85%, if not more, of our land in Nevada. I mean, in the West Coast. I mean, they own literally the whole West Coast. We get very small percentage of the land.
Yes.
So we're pushing for them to release more land so like that we have more land to build for the builders to build cheaper homes, right?
Well, and that's what I believe our governor is pushing for, releasing the land so there's more homes can be accessible homes.
Correct.
Affordable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying when we're able to go meet with officials and talk to them to make that difference. It's impacts us more than people realize.
Yes. And one of the things that I was sitting down when we did that call after the DC trip and everybody national was sitting there and giving their experience and everything, I love one of the things that one of the national person said. You guys sat down at the highest level, right? You sat down literally with your senator and your representative, your congressperson that goes to Washington, D.C. and votes. But you guys as local chapters have their offices here locally. So as a member, if you're thinking like, why should I join NAHREP? Just for the fact that you could be able to walk in with us as a big group representing a Hispanic community and saying, we want to sit down with the representative locally that's going to be able to help us understand what the process is of releasing more land in the BLM. We have the power to do that, right?
Yes, we do. And the beautiful part of it was when we were in DC and I was actually with Natalie when this happened. When you're there at a conference and your local council woman recognizes you, that tells you you're doing great things in the community.
Correct.
We were out there and Councilwoman Victoria Seaman, she recognized me right away and she was like, oh my gosh, Vicky, you're here for your NAHREP stuff. Gave me a big hug and is always, whatever you guys need, contact my office.
Right.
That's the beauty of NAHREP. When you're able to go up to those levels and your officials recognize you,
right.
You can call them and set up meetings and say, hey, you know what, can we run this by you? This is what we need help with. And they listen. Right. Because we like to push and be like, so when is this going to happen though?
Yeah. And when you're a well-put organization and you're, like you said, 50,000 member strong national, 200 plus, here locally, it makes a big difference, right? You're coming in together and you're talking all the same voice. When I sat down and my group sat down with Catherine Cortez Masto and Susie Lee and what was the other representative? One of the representatives from Catherine Cortez Masto was like, I'm a young person. I'm trying to buy here, so I understand that new home ownership thing is coming up. We talked about two different things. We talked about down payment assistance program. And they're like, well, every state has a down payment. They're like, yeah, it is, but is it really a benefit, right? Because you're giving $10,000 for a down payment assistance program, but you're jacking their interest rate 1.5 points. So in the long run, is that really? And she was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
She couldn't comprehend like the balance of it. Like, we're giving you money, but we're giving you a higher interest. Like, yeah, it's like, you're giving them the credit card, but then you're charging them a 28% interest rate on the credit card. And when she hit it, she was like, oh my God, I was not aware of it. And man, she started taking notes. Like, we have to fix this.
Right.
And this has, right. And how does that impact our consumers here locally where the prices are getting priced out, right?
Right. Or, you're told you can get a down payment assistance or a grant, but it's going to be a second.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the other one, right?
Okay. It's going to be a second. If you're not educated in this industry to explain that, we have serious problems.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Because if our officials are not knowing this and we're bringing it to them and it's clicking, now we need to do better. Us in this industry as realtors, as lenders, we have to do better for our community and educate them on these things too, so that there's no surprises.
Correct. Yes. And again, right, we need to make sure that we have we keep those conversations first of all.
Yes.
Right. Because again, we talked at a national level. Now we got to come down with the local level. And when the representative says, we were not aware of that scenario. Well, then I went ahead and I'm like, well, how about the immigration? And they're like, well, what do you mean about the immigration? How does immigration impact housing? And I'm like, well, who do you think builds all the homes? Right? If we don't have people that are going to show up to work and build homes that are going to feel safe in their workplace, because all of a sudden now ICE is going to come in and clean house, who's going to build homes? And, if you have a slow of building new homes, we're already between 3.8 and 4 million homes that are short to be able to fulfill everybody that's looking for homes here. That's just going to create. And again, she was like, oh my God, I wasn't thinking of that fact. And she started taking out. And then, so it makes a big deal when you represent NAHREP, a national organization that come in with valid points and talk about. One of the other things that we talked about was, the capital gains tax. Right? Everybody sells their home. They have a capital gain tax, which is $250,000 if you're single, up to $500,000 if you're married. You don't have to pay taxes on that capital gain. So we were talking about and said, well, you know what? How do you create an incentive for homeowners that have been sitting in their property? Because we know that, a lot, we call it the silver wave, right? We know a lot of people are going to start retiring. They're going to start getting into the empty nesters. So they're going to have a big house with very few people in it. So they're going to start selling. Yeah. How can we not motivate them to say, hey, if you sell to a first-time homeowner, there's going to be an owner occupied. Instead of capping you at $500,000, how about we cap you at $750,000, but you have to sell to a new homeowner? And they were like, we didn't think about it. I mean, Natalie, as an ex-mortgage person, what impact will it have in the market if you're actually targeting first-time homeowners?
Oh my God, that would be a huge opportunity for our first-time buyers. Not only that, but it would also help our seniors not pay those huge income brackets that they have to pay for selling their homes.
Correct.
All they've done is they've actually built equity in their property. I think that's actually a great point. And I'm so happy and thankful that NAHREP was able to bring you to DC and bring up these points to our Congress people, because if not, they would not have any idea how they can help us at a local level.
And it's beautiful how you guys, we are able to go in and represent our state.
Yes.
Because we go in and represent Nevada. Mm-hmm. And bringing up these questions, because these are questions we know, because we're also consumers.
Right.
We want to know what's going on. And
right.
That's the beauty of being part of an organization that allows you the opportunity to do. And this year was the first year that they actually opened it up to all members, not just board members.
Yes. And I agree. I think if you're a member and you have the opportunity to go and see this for yourself, you should come. I think the official picture that they took in front of the Capitol, I believe was that 425 people were walking around in the halls of Congress talking to their congressmen from all the different states. Yes. I mean, that's a lot. I mean,
From
450
all the
people from
states.
all the states. Think about that. That's quite a bit. One of the other things that we talked, and it was actually Jackie Rosen's office that we talked about, and we said, why don't we slow down the corporate purchasing, right? Mm-hmm. You have big corporations. I mean,
Investors.
$1 billion investors. They're coming in and they're buying blocks at a time. They're buying 200-300 homes at a time because they want to rent them, right? And they're going to sit on them. Their model has changed. And I was listening to a podcast earlier last week where they were talking about how the models have changed for the investors. Before, they were flippers. They will come in, they will buy a house, they will, turn it around, they will invest money in the property, they will go ahead and flip it, they put brand new carpet, paint and everything, and then turn around and sell it. Well, now they're like, no. You know what? We have an algorithm that's going to teach us or tell us if we buy this house at this price and we keep it for this long and we collect rent for this much, we're going to get our money back in this time.
Yes.
So we were talking about how can you guys put a tax on those corporate investors. They're coming in and buying a multiple amount of houses and pricing out our community. And again, they were like, is that really happening? We're like, yes.
Or
it
even
is.
a limit.
Or put a limit on them.
Limit on how much they can purchase.
Yes.
So that way they're not taking the opportunities away from first-time buyers.
Right. Because it is a big factor that, unfortunately, our local market, our local buyers are getting priced out.
Yeah.
Yes.
We saw it in 2008 when the foreclosure boom happened. Well, what happened back then? NAHREP got together. They went to Washington, D.C. They sat with Harry Reid and said, hey, you need to save our state. And what did Harry Reid do? Say, you know what? We're going to pass a law. Any brand new REO, 30 days in the market, it has to be for first-time home buyers. Well, then the investors got smart. They figured out a way to run it, and then Harry Reid come back and said, no. Now we're putting a 90-day moratorium. Mm-hmm. And that increased, and I know a lot of people, and you know who you are, that were able to purchase during the REO market at a good price, which was fair, which was great for our community. So NAHREP has a big power to move things around, right, Vicky?
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's going in there with the purpose. Mm-hmm. Our purpose, our mission is to make sustainable home ownership for the Latino community.
Correct. That's
what we go in there to do. We advocate, we fight, we have the arguments that nobody sees. And we also educate our officials because they don't know everything that goes on in our market because they're not in the trenches with us.
You are so correct, Vicky. They actually asked us, I think it was Susie Lee's office, that said, if you guys can, please keep us posted on a monthly, quarterly basis of what's happening in the ground, because we don't have people that are involved. I mean, she was very honest. She was like, it's not like I have 17, real estate agents in my staff. They're telling me what the market is doing. But your organization has 200 plus members in Nevada that's going to help me to tell me what we need to do for the real estate community. And that was just like, I never thought about that. We're the boots in the ground.
And it's about not being afraid to bring those questions up. I think people get intimidated and they feel, oh my gosh, they're officials. They're just like us.
Yeah. Well,
they're just like us.
And they're just not here. So we're the voice that they need in order to help us fix these problems that we have in our local communities.
Exactly. It's having the conversations and not being afraid to do it. That's why, we have a lot of conversations. And like I said, when you have officials that approach you and say, hey, let's set up a meeting so we can see how we're going to fix this, that tells you we're making a difference in our community.
Agree.
It's the progress. It's baby steps. But once all of this is done, it's going to be in the best interest of our community.
Yes. And I do tell you something that I really loved being around with so many professionals. I mean, I think that, again, we were, 400 plus people walking the halls of Congress from all the states. In our group, we were probably like about 10, 12 walking around with our different representatives. And I do have to admit that one of the things that NAHREP has helped me, and I believe that everybody else that were sitting there, was you're not just going to come in and complain.
No.
You're going to come in, bring up an issue, and then come out with a list of solutions. And I think that solution-based mentality as an organization, it's key, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's what NAHREP teaches you in leadership.
Exactly.
Look at, we can complain about everything. Complaining doesn't make a difference.
No.
You need to listen to what the complaint is and find a resolution for it. There's always a resolution for everything. Get out of the mindset of, oh my gosh, we can never get this done. No, we can get it done.
Yeah.
You can't get it done with that attitude.
Yes, that is true.
Okay?
That is true.
You can't. But always moving forward and looking at the bigger picture of things. Because I think that's what happens with a lot of us. If it seems too much, we get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yes, agree.
And instead of finding solutions, we run away from it.
We run away.
Agree.
Absolutely.
And so no, that's not going to help. If like I said, my motto is there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
So if you want to make something happen, don't complain. You can't get anywhere complaining.
Nope.
Let's make a plan and let's get to where you need to
And
be.
execute it.
Yes.
Execute it. Like I said, don't be afraid to be heard.
Correct. And let's be honest, 95% of the real estate professionals out there, it's not that they're not smart. They're very smart. They know how to negotiate contracts. They know how to, negotiate, closing costs. They know how to negotiate periods of time and everything. But the real estate industry is changing so fast. Our realty industry is changing day by day, that when things happen from, like you said, we were walking on Congress and that's where the news came out. It's like, hey, they're not giving any loans to the, non-traditional, resident or non-citizen loans anymore. We couldn't talk about that right there in the moment. But even if we could ask the question, they would have been like, that just came out. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And then instead of us coming in and starting putting pressure on something that we just didn't know how it was going to affect or what the whole outcome of it was, again, we just continue to just know what we wanted to know, what immigration, taxes, insurance, what was impacted in the last 6 months for our industry that we knew that we need to get fixed. This is another thing that maybe in the next session we'll sit down and say, hey, now this is affecting. But let's be honest, like I said, 95% of the real estate agents, they don't know what they don't know. They only know what they've been trained on. So looking at this report is going to give you the knowledge to be able to understand the Hispanic community, especially the Hispanic community that's purchasing homes. Because one of the factors here that you were talking, Vicky, and I know that Natalie said it too, is our generation are not just buying one home. We're buying multiple homes now, right? And we're looking at the ability to say, hey, look, this was easy. Now with more credit, with a little bit more down payment and everything, this one's going to be even easier. And then the next one is going to be probably easier. And then once you get to the fourth one, it's nonstop.
It's cake.
Right?
It's a cakewalk because they educated themselves on how to do it. We learn by trial and error. I'm sure I failed a lot of times.
Yes.
But I've learned from every time that I failed.
Correct.
Resolution based.
Yep.
Yeah, everything is a lesson for me, and there's no bad experience. You learn from your experiences, and it only makes you stronger and more knowledgeable.
Right, but again, having the information like the Hispanic report, it's good information because now all of a sudden your decision making should be more steady.
Yes.
Right? You should be, and I always talk about it. I always say, there's always risk in the world.
Always.
You jump in the car, you're gonna have an accident.
Especially if you're in the car with Natalie.
Full disclosure, right? No, but you know what I mean? Yeah, but you know what I mean? There are always going to be things that are going to happen that are out of your control.
Correct.
But if you live scared,
no,
you're not going to get anything done. So if anyone wants this report, you can contact us. We can send it to you.
Yes, we can.
Anyone who wants it, get in contact with any of us, anyone on the board. You can go, to the NAHREP website and download it.
Yes, and I highly recommend you downloading the report. But not only just download it, because I'm telling you, the picture is phenomenal. The cover of it is great.
They get to see the cover when they download it too.
It has a lot of different messages just on the cover. but read it. There's a lot of great information between the pages, between the covers. It talks about our taxation scenario, right? How much revenue we have increased of being a homeowner. It talks about, the local markets that we have impacted. Like I'm telling you, like Toledo, Ohio, all of a sudden I know that market has kind of changed, and I know that city has stuck to my brain, but I'm like, whoever thought about Hispanics in Toledo, Ohio?
Yeah, I would have never thought about it.
It's true, but that's why, NAHREP takes the time to get this report done. Yeah. Read it.
Hey, they're already working on next year's report. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Okay.
So you have to read it. You have to educate yourself. And again, if you don't want to, talk to any of the board members, because we will share information with you. We want to make sure that you, as the real estate professional, get the information that is needed out there, so you sound and give our community the right information.
And the right options that they have out there.
Yes.
Right. And you know what? Like I said, reach out to anyone. We'll sit down with you. Anybody on the board will sit down. If you call me, I answer my phone.
Yes, me too.
I will schedule an appointment with you. I'll talk to you on the phone. I will go through everything with you.
Yep.
Just get the knowledge. And you will have the resolution for when questions come up.
Agree.
You can answer them.
Yep. So now let's talk about our local chapter, right? The Greater Las Vegas chapter.
Yes.
All right. We were nominated twice for Chapter of the Year.
Yes.
Twice runner-up, which is, it hurts, but it's proud. Actually,
always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
I know. Actually, Vicky, you brought a point that you said, this is the first year that we were nominated for two categories, right?
Yes, we were nominated for advocacy and Chapter of the Year, which to us, it's a big deal. There's 120 chapters. To even get a nomination in both categories says a lot. But I feel with the chapter, I told you guys, don't get discouraged about it.
Yeah.
Because we got nominated the first time, we knew what we needed to fix. This time we fixed what we were supposed to fix. Now we know what else we need to fix. So it's just like I said, it's the progression.
Yes.
And the progression is beautiful. Like, as the chapter president, I couldn't be any prouder than the boards that we have. You guys work so hard, and the nominations show your hard work. And I 100% deep down in my heart, I am grateful for each and every one of you. Because our chapter wouldn't be what it is without all of you.
Correct. And you know what? I think that what sets us apart from, other chapters, because we always are the chapter that everybody looks at, especially when we're talking to national, like, look what the Greater Las Vegas chapter is doing, is like, workshops that we're doing tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I think it's important for our consumers and also our, practitioners, our lenders, and our realtors understand why it's important to be part of our chapter, is because, we decided when we came back from Washington, D.C. and said, okay, we got to do a workshop. What is it going to be about? And everybody's like, let's do AI. We've already done AI and everything. But no, let's talk about something that's really impacting our market, which is
Immigration
and homeownership.
Yes.
So can you guys talk about what we're going to be educating our members tomorrow about when it comes to immigration and homeownership?
So tomorrow we're going to have Nisha Moulton, which she is an immigration attorney. She is going to focus on letting us know how these current laws that have changed are affecting our buyers, how we can overcome it, and we can get forward with that and find other options for them, for people to not feel discouraged to try to continue to buy homes.
Correct.
That's going to be one of the best topics that I think we really need to deepen in for our community to feel safe, for our community to feel the trust that they can empower in us in the NAHREP Greater Las Vegas chapter, and that we're here to give them that education. We're here to give them those options so that they don't feel lost in these times.
Correct.
Yeah, and we're also going to have a realtor who is also a lender for many years, letting you know, like, how those programs have worked in her business and the successes with them and the challenges with them. We want, it's the full transparency all the time, so everyone's prepared. We do not know what tomorrow holds.
Correct.
We don't know what's going to happen with the laws, but if we're putting it out there and we're bringing people that can help you, it is so important to be involved and come to the workshop. It's free.
It is free.
It is free.
And you can't get, free information or free education out there, right? There's always a trade somewhere, which in this moment, yes, it is a free event, but what you're really, given up is 2 hours of your life, but I believe that those 2 hours in your life is going to impact your business, because I get it all the time where people call and said, hey, my dad is not a legal resident. He owns a home. What happens if he gets removed from the United States? And my first thing is like, nothing really happens besides, your life being impacted.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that here in the state of Nevada, when you purchase a property, we utilize a deed of trust. And the deed of trust is a legal bound of rights that you have that calls you the homeowner. And one of them is the direct home ownership. Once you have that deed of rights signed by you, recorded into the recorder's office, you're always going to be the owner of the property, regardless where you're at. And they're like, whoa, wait, what? Well, I called so-and-so and they told me, you got to sell. I'm like, no, you don't have to sell. You just got to have the knowledge. And it's important for the real estate professionals to understand that there are options. And if we really want to help our community, we have to give them all the options, not just what's going to benefit me as a salesperson, right?
Absolutely. And that's why we put these workshops together. Because, I know I'm not an attorney. I stay in my lane.
Of course.
But we have access to people that can answer your questions.
Yes.
And this opportunity that we have tomorrow for you to ask the questions to get the answers. And again, it's free.
It is.
It's free. We're going to have very, very knowledgeable people there. Come, ask your questions. This is your chance to get involved with the community, for you to find out what's really out there, for you to get your questions answered, so that when your buyers ask you, you already know how to answer and help them.
I was going to just say that, and you beat me to the punch. You might not have the questions, but I know your clients do. Bring them to us. Ask from the behalf of your clients, and then go back with a more educated answer than you had before and say, this is what options you have. Yeah. That's why NAHREP is so powerful. We're educating our professionals to be better professionals for our consumers.
And the fact that we have Misha volunteering her time and giving you guys this information for free.
Yes.
Take advantage of it.
You have to. You have to.
Take advantage of it, because I know attorneys' consultations
are
expensive.
They are.
Okay?
They are.
So I say it again, it's free. Come join us. You can register for the event. If you don't have time to register, show up.
Yeah.
It's taking place tomorrow, April 10th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Harmony Home Loans. Show up, get the knowledge that you didn't have before you got there that morning.
Right. And if you want to go ahead and, get more info, follow us on social media, right?
Yes.
At NAHREP Greater Las Vegas. That's our handle for social media. Once you register, once you start following us, just typing in the comment that we've been posting immigration, and we'll reply with the link so you could go ahead and register. Because I know for a fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but I think that this space is limited at this point.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we've been able to extend it twice, right?
Yes, I extended it this morning a little bit, so it's very limited. But get your spot.
Yes.
Like, you won't regret coming.
No, you won't. If you guys need more information, or you guys need me to send you the link, my phone number is 702-771-5775. Natalie Cortez, I'm your sponsorship director, and I can definitely get you guys help. And make sure you come and contact me before we book out.
Correct.
Yeah, and I am Vicky Ho Gonzalez, the 2025 chapter president for NAHREP Greater Las Vegas. My phone number is 818-294-5855. If you call me, text me, I'll get the link to you as well. But just come and get educated.
Yeah.
So you can help our community.
Correct. And this is just tomorrow's event.
Oh, yes.
We have a big event coming in May as well. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know that the link is going to be available for that event. And that one you definitely do not want to miss.
Right. So the May 7th event, it's going to take place at Canyon Gate Country Club. Registration starts at 10 a.m. Our link is actually already up on our website for registration.
Okay.
It is an educational installation. So this event is all about empowering your generational wealth.
Correct.
And that's another one you're not going to want to miss, because it's also the board installation.
Yeah.
So our beautiful board gets installed that day. But we're going to have speakers there. We're going to have a speaker letting you know how you can protect your assets.
Yes.
And how these people that have their legacies protect their assets to keep it going on through your bloodline.
Yeah.
Future generations.
Yeah. And you know what? You have to understand something. A lot of people think that, asset protection or talking with a financial advisor and everything only applies to people with, multimillionaires. And no way.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it applies to everybody, because at the end of the day, if you own a home, that is an asset that you want to protect, because when you're not here anymore, you want to make sure that that sticks around for your family.
Yes.
Children.
And especially in the Hispanic community, we don't think about that. We all have tios that still live in la casa de la abuelita from 40 years ago, and they're not paying rent, but the house is still there. You know what I mean? So that's the type of information, right?
Yeah, and it has to do with protecting your assets. Like I said, people think when you talk about trust, you're automatically talking about death.
Yeah.
It's not about death. It's about protecting the assets in the family so that someone else can't come and take them.
We've seen plenty of situations in the business where it's very unfortunate, where people don't protect their assets, where people don't leave their wealth to their children.
Correct.
And they just don't have the knowledge behind on how to get it done. We will make sure we have those people teaching you and there to answer your questions so that we have that protection for our families as well.
Correct. So it's pretty important. Again, 2 events. Tomorrow, the immigration and home ownership, April the 10th. You don't want to miss it. Harmony Home Loans. Please reach out to any of us if you want to go ahead and get the link. If not, follow us on NAHREP Greater Las Vegas Instagram. The link should be there. But also, May the 7th, another great event. We're already planning for the next event after May. So we're always ahead of the curve, right? We're trying to make everybody in. So, ladies, believe it or not, the hour is gone.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I really appreciate both of you guys to come down and talk to us. Share your information, how DC was all about, what NAHREP really is all about. So, Natalie, if you want to give me your contact info and how people could, follow you on social media, if you wanted to follow you on social media, please.
Yes, my name is Natalie Cortez. Again, your incoming sponsorship director for 2025. My phone number is 702-771-5775.
Perfect. Vicky, please.
And I am Vicky Hill Gonzalez, your 2025 president for NAHREP Greater Las Vegas. My contact number is 818-294-5855.
Perfect. And I am JC Castillo, your incoming parliamentarian for NAHREP Greater Las Vegas 2025. Again, you could get a hold of me at 702-416-4302, 702-416-4302. Please make sure you attend. Ask about NAHREP Greater Las Vegas. We'll give you information on how to become a member if you want to, or just join tomorrow for the free event and see what NAHREP is all about. Greater Las Vegas. It's going to open up your eyes. We have a lot of great information. I believe the next, workshop should be discussing this homeownership report with more, information and detail. But again, you know what? I thank you guys, everybody that listens, everybody that views the show. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, let us know why. We'll definitely adjust it. Please, ladies, let's say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you guys for having us.
You got it. And I'll be here next time. Please go ahead and register for the event tomorrow and stay tuned for the May event. And I will see you guys next time on the podcast. That's right. Well, no podcast tomorrow because we'll be at the event, but we'll be here eventually.
You never know. He does podcast everywhere.
That's right. You might bring you know what? You're right. I'll bring the podcast to the event. So we'll be there live. All right. Well, everybody behave. Please take care of each other. Do not miss our events. They're great. And I will see you guys mañana.